and he held me to that. So although I didn't get a flight to San Francisco out of it, so maybe next time. This little session is about tribal unity, which is what I call a culture-based approach to the scaled agile framework. I do have the chat window open, so in theory, if you ask me questions through chat as we roll along, I will see them and answer them. So folks, just to help me know my audience, can you use your Zoom window to give me a thumbs up or a yes in the participants window or something like that if you are familiar with SAFe? Okay, yeah, okay. I like that. So, okay. So I think most people are. I'm gonna work. Thank you for the yeses in the chat. I'm gonna go with it feels like most people do. If I talk about something you don't know, just ask, right? No problems whatsoever. Happy to explain, but I'll err on the side of most people are familiar enough with SAFe that I don't need to explain every single nuance as we move through. But very happy to take questions. So my journey to tribal unity starts in a different time travel. Now I'm going to take you back almost 10 years. I was a general manager. I was working at a large telecommunications company in Australia, probably the equivalent of AT&T or something like that in the US. I was working on the business side. I'm a business person. I didn't grow up in technology. And I was the business sponsor of a program of work that related to an enterprise data warehouse. And pretty much I call my life feeding the money fire. The way this worked was, as a business sponsor, I would go to the CFO and I would say, can you please give me some money for this program of work? And he would give me some money, and then I would give the money to the technology team, and the technology team would light a match and set it on fire and then come back and ask me for more money. Then I would go back to the CFO, and this was pretty much rinse and repeat for about 5 years, which was particularly awesome. To add insult to injury, the environment with this particular delivery team was referred to as toxic. This isn't my term. This is how people spoke about the place. So people would, someone would come on site to do something, and their commentary around the environment that they experience would be, this place is toxic. In the strangest restructure of all time, somebody in their wisdom decides that the solution to the non-delivering technology organization is to hand it over to the business sponsor to lead. I didn't think it was a good idea at the time. I'm still not convinced it's a particularly good idea. I told them that. They really didn't care. They were kind of funny. Whatever you need, Em, we'll give you anything you need to support you in this journey. Then those people left me in the job, disappeared, never saw them again. Anyway, we went on a journey, and over a journey of 2 years, this is the same toxic organization. That was take 395. That was truly a group of software developers doing the Macarena. Clearly a sign of a toxic culture, or maybe one that had changed over a number of years. Interesting day for me. Not my idea at all. There was a corporate competition that suggested that people should show their colors, which meant dress in the new corporate colors. and take photos of themselves living the corporate values. And a couple of those were things like better together and courage. So these guys dressed up in the corporate colors and decided their better together and courage play would be to record themselves doing the Macarena. The goal was to win enough money to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox or something for the office. Would you believe these guys didn't win? How sad's that? Anyway, so how do we get there? What changed? After that particular day, I was chatting with my team, and we were reflecting on the nature of the environment. And one of the guys said to me, you know, we're like a tribe, right? We're this kind of close-knit tribe. And that got me interested in what does it mean to be a tribe. And I started reading, because that's kind of the geek I am. And I came across Tribal Leadership, which is David Logan's book. And David Logan says, birds flock, fish school, people tribe. So his premise is that is just what we do. And he defines a tribe as, you know, around that 150 people that make up a community. Also happens to be the magic number of the Agile release train in SAFe. And it's a number that reoccurs throughout history. So you see it in the military, you see it in a lot of org structures. Essentially, as humans, we're pretty happy to hang in a social group of around 150 people. And if those groups get up bigger than 150 people, they subdivide. So just part of our nature. So if we're going to form tribes naturally, what does it matter? Logan's research, and he did fairly significant research piece. I think it was 24,000 folks were interviewed across a number of companies. And what he found was what makes some tribes more effective than others is their culture. And Logan's research studied how people talk, the language that they use inside organizations, and said that there was a correlation between the language people use and the nature of the culture. So he found 5 distinct views of culture. This is an American-based study. The first stage is life sucks, not a particularly prevalent culture. Something about, was about 2% of the organisation, 2% of the population. This is the culture that is often correlated with gangs and prisons, right? So not particularly awesome cultures, and people there say life sucks. Stage 2 makes up about 25% of the population. This is David Logan says, this is the part of, this is the culture you see at the DMV, which it's very American construct and a little bit different here. I've taken American friends to our version of the DMV and it's nowhere near as bad, but maybe social service would be a more universal term. Stage 3, I'm great, is the most prevalent culture we see in organisations. This is it's about 49% of the organisation. The idea is I'm great and you're not. This is the culture that we see in a lot of professions, lawyers, doctors, etc. So it's very much about the individual. Stage 4 is we're great and you're not. So this is around 22, 23% of the population. So this is the culture of winning sports teams, right? We're awesome, our competitors are less awesome. Stage 5 is also not particularly prevalent. It's only about 2% of the population. Life is great. And this is the culture you see inside organisations that are doing life-changing work. Organisations that are, you know, hospitals and fighting battles with cancer research and things like that. And stage 5 is actually not a steady state. Organisations bump in and out of it. So really, where do you want to get to? You want an organization in stage 4 that has the ability to bump to stage 5. So we're looking for these we're great cultures, because of course we want our tribes and our trains, in the case of SAFE, to be effective. So making the link back to SAFE, because SAFE doesn't embrace culture, SAFE embraces results. So why are we interested in culture if we're interested in results? Did my sound just die? You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Everybody good. It's a little choppy right now, so I think it's everybody.
Yeah, it's probably Zoom. Zoom
Yep.
maybe having infrastructure problems or something.
Okay, that
So,
should stop interference.
but we can hear you.
Sound, hopefully.
Yep.
Very good. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I don't know what my computer is doing. But you guys say you can hear me, so I guess that's good. Okay, very good. Shall return. It was showing up error messages at this end. Thanks for your patience, guys. So SAFE embraces results. We know that the effectiveness of tribes is impacted by culture. So for me, these things are hard tied. And I really enjoyed this quote from Tony Hsieh, founder and CEO of Zappos. Businesses often forget about culture, and that ultimately they suffer for it because you can't deliver good service from unhappy employees. So we know what we want, right? We want a great culture. We have a feeling for what that looks like. How are we going to get there? Another book on tribes comes from Seth Godin. A tribe is a group of people connected to one another, connected to a leader, and connected to an idea. Kind of like this. So let's start with, how do we connect people to one another? So for me, the basis of an awesome tribe is an awesome agile team, or many, hopefully, awesome agile teams. It's important to understand that an agile team, and particularly an awesome team, is going to be one that has a shared mission. So a team is not a random group of people who happen to work together. A team is a group of people with a shared mission. The size of this team is also important. The Scrum Guide and the SAFE guidance talks to team sizes of 5 to 11. So anything from 5 people with 10 lines of communication through to 11 people with 55 lines of communication. For me, I prefer 7 plus or minus 2. So we're maxing out here at 36 lines of communication. There's a reality that large teams can't deliver because large teams can't communicate. I actually had this experience many years ago. Somebody had misinterpreted pairing as a need to have 2 of everything. I call it the Noah's Ark approach to Agile. So they'd have 2 of every role in a team of 24 people. And we were not delivering very well, no great surprises there. And somebody suggested to me that if we halved the size of the team, we could save some money and we would improve our delivery. So we did. And the next sprint, the team delivered the same amount of points, same throughput as they had with the 24 people. The sprint after, their throughput went up. Large teams can't deliver because they can't communicate. So we want small, mission-capable teams, 7 plus or minus 2. Now, some of you are going, yeah, sure, awesome theory, love your textbook. How do I get all the skills necessary? How do I get a mission-capable team and keep it to that 7 plus or minus 2? Well, as the lean folks say, start where you are. You do the best you can with what you've got. You start to build up people's cross-functionality. And over time, you get to more and more mission-capable teams and less component-based teams. When it comes to how we form teams, I'm a big fan of Sandy Mamoli's self-selecting approach, also known as squadification. Sandy Mamoli is a Austrian-born Kiwi. Her book is Creating Great Teams. Here's my theory. Self-selecting teams is about letting people choose for themselves what team they're a part of. So an organization says, I want to be different. And the thing I'm going to do to change my organization is this Agile thing. And the first thing I'm going to do is tell you what your new team is. That doesn't really feel like anything different probably to what went on in the past. So what I suggest is, if you want to send a message to the organization that things are different, then what you would do is let people choose for themselves what team they're going to be a part of. So it's a facilitated process of letting people self-organize into small cross-functional teams based on the belief that people are at their happiest and most productive if they can choose what they work on and who they work with. So that's kind of awesome. It's funny, I get to do this with probably about 50% of organizations I work with. The number one reason or fear that leaders have about letting people choose their team for themselves is, what if people choose to work with their friends? Can you imagine that? Wouldn't it be a horrible world if people chose to work with their friends and did work with their friends? I'm like, oh my goodness, we can't let that happen. Of course, people are going to choose to work with people they like. And that's going to make them happier, and that's going to make them more productive. It is important to note this is a facilitated process, so it's not a free-for-all. So we want those teams to work in manners that should be familiar to everybody. Visualize the work, communicate daily, inspect and adapt on cadence. And if these teams happen to be in the software domain, you've got to do some extreme programming. It's one of those interesting things around how Agile is introduced into a lot of organizations. I know my first experiences with Agile were very process centric. I got to tell you, process-based Agile without good technical practice is a very expensive proposition. So you're going to want some good extreme programming and software craftsmanship taking place in there as well. So from an Agile team to an awesome team of teams. J. Richard Hackman was a Harvard professor and the author of a number of books. He estimated that 30% of team effectiveness depends on the quality of the team's launch for the life of the team. So how we kick a team off is always going to impact how that team performs. So if I want to kick off a team of teams, I'm a big fan of the quick start approach. So this is something probably well known to most SAFe folks. The idea is, and the way they do it in SAFe is a little bit different to this. They do 2 days, the SAFe version is 2 days SAFe for Teams training for everybody on the train, followed by the first 2-day PI planning event and finishing up with a day of whatever other stuff needs to be done. What I like to do is take that spare day and make it day number 1. Train building, attempt to call it team day. So team day might be a half day of self-selection, but then it's going to be a bunch of activities designed to help create that foundation of that awesome teams of teams. So creating that kickoff that's going to enable effectiveness. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that we like to do. Our focus is on creating shared identity and shared experiences. So starting with identity, the first thing we do when we create a new team of teams is create and share personal maps. So these personal maps, this concept I got from Jürgen Appello. The idea is you just hand everyone out a piece of paper and some pens and you say, draw a mind map. We use this example, which help people to share as much or as little as they like, based on how comfortable they are. And then we do some speed dating, where people hand their maps over to someone they don't know. The person points to the map and asks some questions, and people start to get to know each other. And it looks a little bit like this. I think the thing I always find phenomenal about that is the amount of noise it generates when everybody starts talking to everybody else. So this is step one in what I call creating the social fabric of your tribe or train. So next thing we want to do is get a name for our train or our tribe. Maybe you want to use a bit of an e-poll. Every time I look at this photo, I realize that right in the center there, it says drugs. So I now need to explain to you that this particular Agile release train was working on software for pharmacies. And that software actually dispenses medications. Hence, drugs was one of the possible names for their train. They didn't go with drugs, you'll be pleased to know. Got to tell you, I've launched more Marvel trains than I know what to do with. Lots of characters you can then name your teams after. Or my favorite is definitely got to be Bart, the broadband Agile release train, with of course all the characters named after The Simpsons. And then a dragon train with a bunch of dragon names. So with all the teams named and the train named and the theme in place, it's time to get into what does that mean for us. We have an exercise called Team Product Boxes. So it comes from Luke Homan's innovation game, where a ideation approach for a new product would be to create the box that the product comes in. So you create the box, you put the ingredients on it, you put all the cool marketing slogans on it, and then the team stands up in front of all the other teams and presents that box. Awesome for team building, a little bit of vulnerability from one team to another starts to build some trust. And I do so enjoy this here. This is the leadership team with their Puff the Magic Dragon box being shared with the train. Final part of team identity is tribe t-shirts or train t-shirts. Apparently, if we a sign that you are proud of where you work, you like where you work, you feel a sense of belonging, is whether you're prepared to wear your team t-shirt in public. So, you know, identity in the corporate world is the same as identity anywhere else. So like football clubs, we like colors, we like mascots, we like uniforms. These are things that as humans appeal to us. So, shared identity to shared experiences. So again, focusing on kicking off our team of Agile teams and following along with our quick start approach, we are training everybody all in and all at once. So all of our team of teams is going through 2 days of training on what their new world is going to look like. And whether you're using SAFe or not, this is such a valuable concept because you have everybody hearing the same instructions from the same instructors at the same time. So you're able to get an alignment piece as well as creating a shared experience for everybody on the tribe. And you can even do this distributed. So if we were to have a train split across, say, Sydney, Australia and Pune, India, we would actually be running those events in parallel and sending information backwards and forwards between those teams. And of course, now in our COVID world, we're running these events fully, everybody online at the same time, running online training, adjusting the time zones or the timing of the class so that people can attend in a reasonable, normal time of day. And of course, our PI planning event creates shared experiences and again, even works remotely. So Brisbane in the foreground, and you can sort of see at the back there, the Hong Kong component of this particular Agile release train. Now, if it's great to bring everyone together for PI planning when we kick everything off, wouldn't it be great to bring people together more frequently? So that Macarena video you saw at the start of this session came from a Unity Hour event. This is traditionally the first hour of every sprint, bringing together all the teams on the train, all the tribe, to hang out, eat some food, cheesecake grab, shout outs, thank each other for things that they have done to support each other over the last sprint, run learning exercises, and make various announcements. So we had executives come and chat to the train around how the work the train was doing for them fed into the broader business objectives. We'd play Agile games. Getting grown men to create paper planes and try to fly them is always great fun. Some collaboration exercises, a little bit of Pictionary where the teams would share with each other what their sprints had been like using Pictionary. A little bit of fundraising fun. So don't know if this is a global phenomenon, but we have something called Movember, where during November, guys grow mows and raise money for charity. We can then vote on the best mow, and we can also present Miss Movember to the person who grows the smallest mow. Comment from Ron. Apple rule of thumb, you couldn't create a project plan until after you named the project and passed out the t-shirts. That's awesome, Ron. Also, potluck, sharing some food, great way to spend a Unity hour. Linda Rising says in her book, Fearless Change, that humans think that anyone they eat with is friend, not foe. So if you're trying to build community, getting people to eat together is actually a really great way to get people to bond. For this particular group, a number of Indians are among them who thought it was really great fun to make very hot curries. And then, of course, the white boys would be very quick to tell us all how much they could stand hot curry and be standing there sweating through lunch as they tried the many very hot curries. So once every 12 weeks for PI planning, once every 2 weeks for Unity Hour, can we do it again? Sure, daily cocktail hour. You may be disappointed to learn that this is not the same as the cocktail hour some of you are now having. This is generally 9 o'clock in the morning and does not involve any cocktails. I hear that is upsetting to some folks. Thank you, Seth. That's awesome. This is a cascading set of stand-ups, usually first thing in the morning. The first one here is the leadership team coming together, aligning for the day ahead, followed by each of the teams doing their regular stand-ups, followed by what SAFE would call an art sync. Representation from all teams, Scrum Masters, product owners, tech leads, RTEs, product managers, and anyone interested in the train. I always call this a heartbeat of the Agile release train. So it's 15-minute sync every single day. And this means we are getting connectivity between across the train every single day. And in this model, we also have people who have their stand-ups after the big sync because their day's priorities is actually driven by what's going on across the broader group. So continuing on that theme of cross-pollination across the teams, communities of practice are another cool tool. SAFE doesn't use this model, but I quite like it. You may recognize an image here taken from the Spotify paper by Henrik Nieberg and Anders Ivarsson, written in 2012, Scaling Agile at Spotify. And they talk about the concept of a chapter, where a chapter is a group of people with the same specialization. And the chapter lead is the line manager of those specialists. So as we're moving into these mission capable teams, we've created a bunch of cross-functional teams, which means that we have spread our specializations across the tribe and across the train. So the chapter model is a nice way to keep connectivity across the people who do the same type of work. And they have those chapters catch up once or twice a week, do things like peer review, share ideas, talk about their roles, and just keep that connectivity going. Another thing to think about if you're trying to build a team of teams is how you celebrate. So you need to remember to celebrate as a tribe, not just a team. I think we're really quick to go, one team did something awesome, so they get cake. What about one team did something awesome and everybody gets cake? So we have here a guy named Smurf with an epic cake. So an epic was completed and there was cake for everybody. Another thing I've learned is if you have a group of 100 people, you can have birthday cake twice a week, every week of the year. So if it's somebody's birthday, it's not just cake for the team, it's cake for all the teams. There's a lot of cake. You can also have cake to celebrate a number of sprints or iterations or PIs. And in fact, when this particular group reached 50 sprints, they took the day off. A little bit of team foosball, a little bit of wee rock band. And when it comes to celebration, don't be too fussy. You can also celebrate International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yes, it's a real thing. It's the 19th of September. One of the most rewarding parts of Unity Hour and bringing people together is the idea of shout outs. So shout out, not sure if it's an Aussie term, a shout out would be a thank you or a congratulations to someone. So we would have team members, talk to each other. Oh, sorry, it flicked up at me again that it had lost connectivity, but you guys seem to still be there. So sorry, shout outs. A person would stand up in front of the team of teams and say, hey, thank you to Fred. That was really awesome how you helped me out with that really difficult